Welcome back to season 7 of Believe in Panthers here on Believe Podcast Networks. Desmond Johnson in the house with the Panthers all-time leading rusher, Jonathan Stewart. We're going to start our NFC South Division previews, and what better way to do that is to bring in some additional talent from other podcasts all around the globe. Rhett Matthew is in the house with us for this segment here as we get into the Bucs. He is the co-host of the Canon Fire podcast, as you can find on various platforms. What's going on, Rhett? How you doing?
Doing well, fellas. Appreciate you having me back. Been a little while since we talked, but excited to get into things. A little over a week away from training camp, and then before we know it, man, preseason's going to be wrapping up, and we'll be ready to go for real.
Yeah, it's really about to start going downhill really fast for a lot of these teams. Our team in particular playing in the Hall of Fame game first week of August in Canton, so we'll be starting about a week ahead of everybody else in terms of preseason play. My brother in arms, Jonathan Stewart, in the house. I haven't seen you in a couple of months as well, man. How's your summer been? Getting ready to talk about these Panthers again, man.
No, it's been great, man. I see you growing a beard and everything. I got a plan for that, man.
Okay, I need some help. Help me.
This is what I'll say. Keep the beard going at least until the very first regular season game.
Ooh, so like into September?
And then if we win,
then I got to keep it.
You have to keep it going.
Damn, that's actually pretty good. My wife will adore you because she's the one that got me to do this in the first. I've never grown a beard before in my life. I'm 48 years old. So she was like, I want to see what you look like with a beard. I was like, all right, when all my shows are over, I'm just going to not shave, which is the weirdest experience in the world to wake up and not shave your face at all. So I'm just getting out the shower and going. And it's been since the end of May, I guess, when school let out. Last time we did a pod together was probably around the end of May too. And it's weird. I'm past the itchy phase. So I'm
man. Let it happen. Let it roll out.
See, we're gonna let it happen. We're
gonna call it the Panther Beard.
The Panther Beard. So you're gonna have all these people coming up to me in Walmart like, "Hey man, keep the beard going. Panthers 3-0." So Rhett, let's get into it because we got questions. This whole division seems like it's kind of in flux. This is a year where it would not surprise me if any of the four won the division by the time we got to the end of it, especially the way it ended last year, where it felt like we kind of didn't want the division at the end. We were losing games. Was it Atlanta? I think it was.
Atlanta was our savior.
Atlanta was kind of through, beating some teams. The Saints were winning games, but they were almost mathematically out of it at the end of the year. Just, you want to start off these questions, Stu? Because you got a couple really good ones when we're talking about this.
Look, Tampa Bay, respect y'all. My dog, you know what I'm saying? Baker Mayfield, leading the charge. I really like Baker. But there's some questions we got, right? You know, you got Todd Bowles, Super Bowl champion coach, right? Under, the help of the GOAT Tom Brady, and many others like Mike Evans, he's departed. Lavonte David, he's departed. But I mean, we got some changes that have, some weight to it, in my opinion. And I'll start this off with Todd Bowles on the hot seat. How does the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans feel about Todd Bowles? Because I mean, we don't really know what that looks like and hear what you guys talk about on a day-to-day basis. But where does Todd Bowles sit at within that regime as a head coach?
I think that answer for a lot of Bucs fans is going to be answered within the first 4 weeks of the season. I think most people can agree that he's absolutely sitting on the hot seat, and there is a huge argument that if the Bucs miss the postseason this year, there's not a lot of excuses to keeping this guy back around. But the one thing that Todd Bowles has in his tool belt this season that I don't think he has had in previous years, they revamped their defense. You just talked about the departure of Lavonte David. I think the revamp on defense is probably one of the biggest season-defining stories for what will be the 2026 Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because 2025, man, I hate to talk about it, but you start off the season the way that you do, 5-2 record, Baker's playing like an MVP candidate, guys start getting hurt, you get some pieces back, but whatever you want to point to, the Bucs absolutely fell apart in the second half of the season. Baker Mayfield's quarterback play was a huge reason of that, and inconsistencies on the defensive side of the ball were another big reason for that. But I think that personnel-wise, the reload that the Bucs have done, specifically along this defensive line, Vita Vea was in the news talking about he wants a contract. I think that's going to be interesting to see where that ends up. I don't think it's going to be a distraction. I don't think the Baker Mayfield contract thing is going to be a distraction for this team. But on the defensive side of the ball, replacing Lavonte David, a lot easier said than done, right? I don't think you can just put Alex Anzalone in there and call him a replacement. But when you're replacing what 2025 Lavonte David was, if Alex Anzalone has half the football IQ that Lavonte David did after a decade and a half in the NFL, I think he is an upgrade over what we got in 2025. The defensive line, if Kalijah Kancey can stay healthy, man, Ruben Bain, I'm sure people down here, at least the conversations around Ruben Bain have become nauseating because it, was the draft hype that it was when they drafted him. And now all of a sudden we're talking about, well, if he doesn't get 10 sacks, is it a good rookie year? I think people need to pump the brakes on this kid, but I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table. The Bucs moved on from Hassan Reddick. Yaya Diaby going to be getting some more reps this year. I really do feel like this defense is in a place where if this is A'Shawn Robinson, completely forgot about that signing.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, man.
A'Shawn Robinson might be the best addition outside of Ruben Bain Jr. To that defense. Because you get more than just a player, right? You get a guy that has veteran leadership, but also, too, a mindset that says, I wish a mother would. Okay,
and that's what the Bucs defense didn't have enough of over the last 2 years. We have talked week in and week out, man. And sorry for lack of a better term, but like my co-host Evan and I have said, man, the Bucs really need some more douchebags on the defensive side of the ball because
good guys,
right?
When you get on the field, you got to turn on a switch.
Yeah,
right.
And I think I'm excited to see A'Shawn Robinson bring that. I'm excited to see training camp. Because I think he's going to be one of the first guys out there jawing at everybody, whether it's a joint practice or not. He's one of those guys that you are confident going into a practice, he's going to get the most out of the guy on the other side of him. And having some more guys like that on the defense this year sprinkled in is going to help. I mentioned Anzalone. I'm curious to see where he fits in, but solid veteran talent, and I don't think it's a huge drop-off from where we were last year.
Rhett Matthews joined us from the Canon Fire podcast. You can catch that on all major podcast platforms, discussing all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had a question about Baker Mayfield because I was hearing maybe about a month ago. I didn't realize it, but I guess he's up for an extension. And the past, I don't know, really since he got to Tampa, but he's been there, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So for the 3 years he's been in Tampa, he's basically a team where I think a majority of us, when Tom Brady retired, felt like, okay, this is the beginning of them going into a tailspin, like a rebuild. And Baker kind of patched that over where, you guys kept winning division titles. Is Baker Mayfield a $65-70 million a year quarterback? Because his play suggests over the past couple of years that, if you're going to pay somebody like, I don't know, who's in that tier? Well, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, if you're going to pay like $50+ million a year to a quarterback, Baker's kind of checked all the boxes for what you would want to have for that. But I feel a little pushback in Tampa in terms of, I feel like if the team really saw him as like the long-term solution, they would have already done this, and they haven't done it yet. What are you feeling or hearing from upper management and fans regarding Baker Mayfield and his potential future with the Tampa Bay Bucs? Because it's almost like not a love-hate relationship, but more of a, I don't know, we're not sure. We need to see more.
Right.
But we've seen 3 years of it, so...
I think the short answer for Jason Light, if he had the ability to just step out in front of everything and kind of get out in front of it, I think he would tell you, we're going to have this conversation with him next year. We still have another year on his deal. We're going to figure this out after the season. I think where the doubt creeps in for a lot of people when discussing Baker Mayfield and his, potential pay raise, last year he was 16th as far as annual value for quarterback contracts. He was getting paid right in the middle of the field. If you look at Baker Mayfield and his ability, there's a lot of conversations. People will say maybe he's top 10, maybe he's not. But I think most people would agree he's probably higher than 16th on their list.
Yeah, I put him. I mean, he's not
top 15 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've always used what's his name? The quarterback in Jacksonville,
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. We use Trevor Lawrence as our median. Like he's like the best worst quarterback in the league. So we always have him at like 15, 16. Is he better than him or is he worse than him? So I think I would take Baker before I took Lawrence.
Where a lot of the doubt creeps in, especially, and this is just on my own as well, because I love Baker. I'll go on our podcast. I'll defend Baker every day of the week. The way that he plays, the physicality, his ability that he has to if the Bucs need someone on offense to fire them up and get the team engaged again, he's typically the guy to go do that.
Oh, yeah,
now,
we know. Yeah.
You don't love seeing your starting quarterback lower the shoulder and start fights and everything. But, man, if somebody's got to light a fire under the team, then I like that he can do that.
We had a guy like that, and we used to cheer every time he lowered his shoulder. It might have cut his career about 7 years, but we were like, hey, lower that shoulder and go. Baker's about a half foot smaller than that guy, and he's putting it down doing the same thing. So when we had him for the 1 year, Stu, I loved having Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Good locker room guy, confidence.
One of them guys you rally around. It felt like it was Baker Mayfield. And honestly, I think the only reason why he's not here is because of the world when we had in the front office with the coaches and staff and stuff. Nobody knew what they wanted because we had Sam Darnold in the same quarterback room, same time. So it's like, I don't.
we missed out on two guys.
MVP candidate, Super Bowl playing QBs. Like, I mean,
but I got a question. Like, do you think that Baker Mayfield has been a product of his surroundings more so than his actual ability? Like what holds people back? I mean, because from the guy that I see a guy that can go into a situation and ball out. I mean, when he went to the Rams for a little bit, the trajectory of him being on that field was that night and day difference between what it was before when they were going through the injuries and all those types of things, right? So you have a guy that has this it factor. Like, what about the Buccaneers is so hesitant to say this is our guy?
I think the perfect case scenario for that question is look at what Baker did in 2024 with Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator. Like, we are so far removed from that now to where it's been established that Liam Cohen definitely knows a little bit about what he's doing, calling plays as you know, now a head coach in the NFL. But he got the most out of Baker, more than I think any other Bucs OC has gotten during his time here. In 2025, there's a lot more things that add to that narrative, but like Josh Grizzard as OC, it was very apparent 7-8 weeks into the season that it just wasn't going to work out. He's not moving the offense the same way guys have done before, and it just wasn't going to be as successful. The other part of the narrative for Baker following that 2025 season, and this is where the concern for me starts to creep in, that second half of the year when the Bucs were just not playing well, consistently not playing up to the level that they had established in the first 8 weeks of the season, Baker was a huge part of that, and he just didn't look good. Now, the thing that has reared its head with Baker, specifically on that tail end of the 2025 season, as you guys saw, he was featured in the Netflix quarterback series. That series revealed that Baker played through an MCL sprain, a PCL sprain, happened week 2 against the Texans.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, so it was a bicep injury. He showed a clip after that Texans game of his bicep, and it's purple. Like from here down, his arm is the color purple. And I think the argument then becomes like, you know, it is well known that Baker Mayfield is going to play through injury. You got to chop that guy's arm off to get him not under center. But
got a little Brett Favre in him, yeah, for sure.
Do you look at that at a certain point and say, all right, how hurt is this guy? How hurt is he really that we're not telling people? And is this a detriment to the team? I think the 25 Bucs were in a pretty bad.
So you're saying the wear and tear? Do we invest?
Do you want to pay out that money, that guaranteed money? Yeah, because these quarterbacks are getting guaranteed money now, like on these contracts. So.
You know, I got a question. What's that offensive line looking like? Because look, he getting beat up.
Hey, you know, last year, and Tristan Wirfs described it best. He said last year at the beginning of the year, the Bucs offense was tossed a shit sandwich at the beginning of the year because they were missing Tristan Wirfs. They were missing Cody Mauch had missed a huge chunk of the season. And so for, I think, 10 out of 17 weeks last year, the Bucs were rotating their offensive guard. They had their Graham Barton played left tackle. So they had their starting center playing left tackle. They had 2 practice squad offensive guards. So last year, the offensive line was really one of the biggest letdowns for this Buccaneers.
So you basically saying your offensive line is the reason why Baker Mayfield is not the guy that everyone wants him to be.
Like
no, because Baker can be the guy and he can make these plays without an offensive line. I just think it really is going to come down on how much credence is this person going to want to put on Baker's injury in the second half of 2025? Because injured or not, he was missing things that he should not have been missing as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And like, that's easy for me to say, some bum, right, who works in an office 5 days a week. But when you're a starting caliber NFL quarterback,
there's only a few of them, yeah.
Right.
But if you also going through rehab every week, making sure your body comes to
your body parts are different colors, like
there's a lot that goes into it now, like just to get to, and he's a quarterback, so his mental's got to be sharp. I was a running back, and I had to hope and pray throughout the week that I was going to just be good on Sunday. Literally, it'd be
Lord,
Saturday,
please get me
and
Thursday.
it'd be Sunday morning. I'd be like, "Ooh, man, I can't even really walk." But for whatever reason, I get to that stadium, I'd be ready to go.
Get that adrenaline going,
because I only had to think about my physical state.
Yeah,
you got a quarterback.
You got your rights too.
You got your mental state. You got the efficiency state. You got leadership state.
Situational.
Like, there's so much that goes into as far as system overload. And you talk about Baker Mayfield throughout the beginning of the season, he's starting off hot, and then all of a sudden it's midway through the season, and it's like, man, look, I'm tired of getting beat up.
Tired. Yeah,
I'm tired of getting beat up, and I've been trying my best to do what I can. That's what I'm saying.
But that's good. That's when we saw. That's when we saw.
Line better come to play.
I ordered DoorDash last night, and normally DoorDash employees will just throw it wherever they want to throw it. But the DoorDash employee that I had last night actually went out of their way to make sure I could get to my food properly. They moved it out of the way from the door, put it on a chair, made sure it was warm. When someone goes out of their way to make an extra step, it makes a positive impression. And it may not seem like much, but when someone does do that, it's going to make a positive impression on you. So if you're hiring, great candidates can also go the extra step and tell you why they're interested in your job on ZipRecruiter. It's a way to stand out from the others that are out there. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested qualified candidates first, so you can meet the right people faster. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds qualified candidates quickly, and candidates can tell you in their own words why they're interested in your job. So try it out today. Try ZipRecruiter, meet great candidates, and go the extra step for your job. 4 out of 5 employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
I got a question because we only have a little bit of time left with Rhett. I wanted to ask you about your draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Who's a rookie in the draft class that you saw that they picked that you're most intrigued about? Somebody that can be immediately a contributor to whatever side of the ball they were picked on, and why.
Outside Ruben Bain Jr.
Outside Ruben Bain.
Yeah, outside Ruben Bain Jr. Even Keontae Scott, another Miami guy, is going to get a lot of love. I'll be honest with you. I discounted this pick a little bit when it first happened. It took me a little bit of time to really kind of buy in. But as you know, the Bucs move on from Mike Evans, a dominant X receiver in this room for the last decade plus. Their offensive philosophy shifts entirely. Now you have to see if Emeka Egbuka can step up and play well against press man coverage, because last year he did not. Outside of Jalen McMillan, you don't really know how many guys in this wide receiver room can excel in that position. Ted Hurst, man, filling in the X spot. Now, by no means is this a gateway to make a comparison to Mike Evans and Ted Hurst, but from a practical standpoint and how he is going to be used in this offense and how he has looked in these matchups so far during OTAs and minicamp, there is a lot of noise surrounding Ted Hurst. And I think a lot of people, even within the facility, are pretty surprised. We do the Rondé Barber show down here, and luckily I get to talk to Rondé every now and again, and he is enamored with this kid. Like, he is very pleasantly surprised. And I feel like you got to make a decent amount of noise to end up on number 20's radar. So I think Ted Hurst is something that, again, when you look at this class as a whole and you look at all the hype surrounding Ruben Bain, even Josiah Trotter, I'm excited to see. But like Ted Hurst, I want to see if he can truly step up and fill that X receiver position.
So they're hoping that they get a Jalen Coker. This is what
right.
Really
undrafted guy.
Because this is a guy that came from where? Georgia State. He was at Valdosta State. So this is a guy that's definitely under the radar. We'll keep our eyes out on him.
Yeah.
I got a question, though, about a former Ducky of mine, Oregon Ducks. Shout out to Dan Lanning and the boys back there in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, about to dominate the Big Ten. Tez Johnson.
Yeah.
How do we feel about my boy, man? How do we feel?
I like Tez. I think Tez reaped all the benefits of his rookie season as well, because one of the things we talked about coming into last year is, oh, well, you've got these guys who can return. Everybody talked about the size and the measurables. Like, is he going to be able to find a spot on this team? Dude, was he ever able to find a spot on this team? I think his shiftiness, his ability to just kind of pop up when you least expect him at times. I really look forward to what Tez Johnson can bring to the table in year number 2, man. Again, the rest of this wide receiver room, I think there is a lot of pressure on a lot of guys in the room, but I think Tez is in a really good spot where I don't think he's coming into this training camp with as much pressure to try and prove that he belongs, because, you know, even him and Baker had a really good connection for part of last year.
Yeah, I will say, I think I speak for Stu and the rest of Panther Nation that we are 1,000% happy that Mike Evans is no longer in the NFC South. That dude terrorized us for a decade. So with him gone, there's a wide open hole there. I'm actually curious how Baker looks without Mike Evans, to be honest, because he seemed like a fail-safe for any quarterback. So we'll get that in. We got to get Rhett out of here. Before we go, though, real quick, odds from FanDuel. If people are wondering right now, the odds for the Carolina Panthers to win the Super Bowl are at plus 8,000. You can go to sportsbook.fanduel.com. Place a bet if you believe in Bryce Young and the boys to win the whole thing. Go over there, make you some money. Plus 8,000.
Put 1,000 on it, so you can win at 80,000.
80,000, like that, yo.
Put 1,000 on it, give you 80,000.
If we were smart, we'd put together some kind of like what is the donation things? We just get a bunch of Panther fans all throw. Yeah, do a GoFundMe and just throw it all on Panthers win Super Bowl, and we just split it all out.
That's actually
that sounds like a really
we'll like an investment platform to bet.
The Calci stuff. Rhett, tell everybody where they can get to the pod for Canon Fire.
Yeah, absolutely. You can find us on YouTube at Canon Fire Podcast. You can also find us on audio wherever you get your podcast, Canon Fire Podcast, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that as well. And then last but not least, you can find myself at Rhetticus, Rhettt, AKUS.
There you go. So it's Rhett Matthews, co-host of the Canon Fire Podcast, all things about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll definitely be back in touch with you before the season is over with. Rhett, appreciate you coming through, man.
Thank you, fellas. Pleasure as always.
Hey, man, keep pounding.